Alright, so binomial trees part 2 here. This time we're going to be solving a problem using the probability method. So right here I'm just going to read off the problem. A certain stock is currently trading on $100 per share. The stock pays no dividends. The volatility of the stock is 30%. Find the price of a 6-month call option with a strike price of 102, and the current risk-free rate is 3%. So right off the bat here we have volatility of the stock is 30%. It's just boom, okay, probability, let's go. So the formula for figuring out the price of a security this way is just, so we have e to the negative RH, that's just a present value factor, and then a probability up times the payoff up, plus the probability down times the payoff down. Oops, there should be an extra bracket here. That's not aligned. Oh well, you get it. And that's just essentially the expected payoff of this security. And then to kind of break that down, we need to figure out what our probabilities are. So we have another formula here. Our probability up, which is represented by P star, is just e to the RH minus our down factor, all divided by our up factor minus the down factor. And then to find probability down, since it's a probability, you just have 1 minus P star. A little thing to keep in mind, this probability up formula will always be less than 50%. There's a way to solve it out if you want to. There's some proof out there. I don't know what it is, to be honest. Anyone that's like a math genius can probably figure it out. But just keep that in mind. In the final for this class, I got something like 50-something, 53%, and I immediately knew something was wrong. So when you get numbers above 50% there, just know you're probably doing something wrong. And then finally, we have a formula to figure out what our up factor is. It's e to the power of r times h, plus, and this is just standard deviation. That's supposed to be a delta. Don't really know if you guys can tell. Times the square root of h, and then our down factor is the same thing, except we have a subtraction instead of addition. So let's get started on this problem then. So I'm just going to write down our main variables here. Our S, just so it's easier to kind of have a reference to. S of 0 is 100. Our standard deviation, I think this is the alt code. No, that's not. I'm just going to put standard deviation here. Is equal to 0.3. And then our time is equal to 0.5, just half a year, right? Our strike price, K, is equal to 102. And our interest rate is equal to 3%. Alright, so let's get started. So our stock starts off at 100. And our tree will branch off in 2 different directions, up or down. The up, so we have to calculate what our up is first, right? And we do that by calculating our up factor. So let's do that up here. Up is equal to e to the power of, so, and then in parentheses here we're going to have r, which is 0.03, times our 1/2, that's the half year, plus, since this is the up factor, 0.3, our standard deviation here, or not standard deviation, our volatility, which is 30%, which is equal to, oh wait, no, and then we have to multiply it. I don't know how to do square root in Paint, I'm sorry, so it's just going to kind of do this like Excel style here, square root of our time, h, which is 0.5, and putting that all together in our calculator, we will get 1.255, and then for our down factor, be very similar. 0.03 times 0.5. Instead of plus, we have minus 0.3, which is our volatility, times the square root of our time, or period, just half a year. Putting that into our calculator, we get 0.821. So with our up factor and down factor, that's like a percentile of the stock when it goes up and a percentile of the stock when it goes down. So 125%. So we're going to take this number and multiply it times 100 to get our stock going up. So it's just 100. Here, I'll put this down here. So 100 times our up factor, which is 1.255. We're just going to get our stock goes up to $125.05. 100 times our down factor is 0.821. Just get that our stock goes down to 82.1. So I'm just going to fill in the blanks here, 125.5 and 82.1. So now that we know where our stock's going to be going to with this volatility, we can figure out what our call up and call down is going to be. So again, our strike price was what, 102. So I'm just going to put it right here. Our call up is equal to 125.5 minus 102, which gives us 23.5. And then our call down, it's going to be 82.1 minus 102, which gives us a negative number, so we default to 0 since this is a call. And moving on from there, we just need to figure out, so we know what our call up and our call down is, so we know what the payoffs are, so we can check that off of our formula. All we need to know now is the probability. So I'm just going to solve that over here. Our P star is equal to E. So we have our probability up formula right here. It's E to the power of RH, which in this case is 0.04 times, what was the H, 0.5, right? Because it's half a year. Right. And then we're going to multiply this all by, oh wait, no. We're subtracting this by our down factor, 0.821, which we solved up over here. And then we're going to divide this whole thing out. By our up factor, 1.255, minus our down factor, 0.821. And so we get our probability up is equal to 0.4473. And then just through some basic arithmetic, 1 minus P star, which is our probability down, is going to be equal I'm going to have to use a calculator. You know what? I'll save that for later. If you want to know what it is, it's actually kind of irrelevant for this question, but you could solve it on your own later. So now that we have all the important pieces to fill in the blanks on our formula for the price of a security, we're just going to fill it all in here. So we're looking for a call, which is going to be equal to E to the RH, which is 0.03 times 0.5, and that should be negative, times our probability up, which was 0.4473, we just solved that, times our call up, which is 23.5. And so this is why we didn't need to know what the probability down is. This won't always be the case. So you know how to solve this if you do need to know your probability down. But it would be our probability down, which is, so we're going to add our probability down, 1 minus P star. and then multiply that by our call down, which is 0. So that just cancels all out, which is why we didn't really need that. And just solving that all up, we get 10.35. And that's how you figure out what the price of a security is using the probability method in a binomial tree. Alright, thanks for watching. That's it.